firewood, right? And so, one man recognized him from that group, and he turns to the people and he says, "Do you know this man?" And he was in a state of shock, and the people said, "Well, he's a man from Medina." And the man says, "This is Ali ibn al-Hussein, Zayn al-Abideen." And the people, were in panic, and they went to the feet of the Imam alayhi salam, and he says, "O messenger, O son of the messenger of God, do you want us to go to hell? What if we had offended you?" And the Imam alayhi salam turned to them and he says, gently, "I traveled with some people who knew me, and they, because of my relation to the messenger of God sallallahu alaihi wasallam, rendered me services for which I was unworthy of." You know how humble he is. Unworthy, the Imam, he's most worthy of all of our services. But here is this person at that stage, that status in the ummah, and he says that about himself. And he says, "I was afraid that you would render me the same services, so I preferred concealing my affair than making them public. I do not like to be given what I cannot give something equal to in return." And here's, again, a wonderful exposition and some analysis by Sayyid Muhammad Hussain Fadlallah in this regard. And he says, and I quote, "What do we learn from this stance? If you want people to respect you, you have to see what you have given to them. Do not feel that they should respect you because you're the son of an important figure. But think about what you have given them. And when you have given them, do not think that what you have given do not think about what you want from them. And those who do not serve others and do not try to guide them because they're the sons of dignitaries, or because they have assumed certain positions, do not have the right to ask people for honoring them. When you want to give, do not think about what you have given, what you have taken, and when you want to take, think about what you have given." So, this is a lesson for those who are sons of dignitaries. This is the lesson for those who are in position of influence. And I say this in particular given the venue that I'm speaking at, because we are a community who, again, the mustadafin have become people who are in positions, and it's something to keep in mind. There's, I guess, here's a personal anecdote, and this is something that as a child, I heard once from my mother. She told me this, and forever thereafter it was kind of ingrained in my psychology. And and this is something that it's a couplet of prose from Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and he says, "Inna al-fata man yaqulu ha ana, laysa al-fata man yaqulu kana abi." The chivalrous youth is he who says, "Here is who I am." The chivalrous youth is not he who says, "My father was such." And so, we find in the Arab world, in the Eastern world, that the phenomena of the sons of dignitaries, of sons of people in power, just because of the, of virtue of them being the sons, that all of a sudden they expect to be respected. And look at the Imam alayhi salam. He was the greatest man of his time. He was the son of the greatest man of his time. He was the grandson of the greatest man and the greatest woman of his time. He was the great-grandson of the greatest man and the greatest woman of that time. The son of the messenger of God. And this is his humility. And this is what he expects from others. And that's a lesson for us to take in terms of, the virtues that we want to inculcate within ourselves. Now, there's also the virtue of generosity. Now, the generosity of Imam alayhi salam was proverbial. It was just remarkable. He's the very definition of generosity. And his generosity was given with complete affection and complete love to the needy, the orphans, the disabled, to those who are in need. And he fed them with his hands, and he caressed them. It's something to be remarked about. There's a wonderful tradition that I know that we have in our community, which is, and I think it's not just exclusive to the Iraqi community, but I've seen it in the South Asian community as well, which is the sufra of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. In these days, around the days of his death, or maybe I believe it's the days of his death, that they have they make certain meals. In the Iraqi community it might be shilna, in the South Asian community it might be halim, right? And they would open up their houses to people. This tradition began with Imam as-Sajjad alayhi salam, and he didn't just open it to friends. His house, he had an open house policy every day. Every day around noontime, it was known that the sufra, the tablecloth, was laid out, and the poor would come daily. Open house policy. And it's also reported about him is his secret maintenance of hundreds of families. To the extent that it's been narrated from a person who says, I heard the people of Medina say, when Ali ibn al-Hussein died, we were deprived of being given charity secretly. The historians reported that a group of the people of Medina lived and did not know the person who brought them the livelihood until he passed away. Hundreds of families, and they didn't know who sustained them until one day, out of the blue, one night, when they became accustomed to the secret giving that they did not receive. And who was it that passed away on that day? They realized who it was who was catering towards their need. And he would cover his face when he would give alms. And this is one of the great attributes of the Imam. But the Quran also says those who give secretly and those who give openly. And he gave openly too. And let's look at how he gave openly. Imam alayhi salam, when he gave openly, he was always one who was sensitive to the dignity and the face, keeping face of those who were in need and those who would beg. And so what he would do is, just so that he himself didn't want to see that that difficulty in their face, he would kiss them, and also what's really remarkable as well is that he would say to them, welcome to him who carries my provisions for the hereafter. He would welcome them. Welcome to him. You're giving me something. You're the one who's giving me. I'm not giving you anything. I'm giving you something that's temporal. You're giving me something that's permanent. Welcome to him who has my provisions for the hereafter. This is the Imam alayhi salam. And this generosity of his was to the extent that it's been narrated by his son Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, that upon his death, when they were washing his body, he saw the scars of Karbala and the aftermath, and Sham, the iron locks on the necks, the chains on the hands and the back, and the whips. But they noticed something else that wasn't from Karbala, that wasn't from Sham, that there were calluses on his back. And when he was asked about what are these calluses, it was as a result of the sacks that he would carry at night, the weight of the sacks that would callus his back, because of that proverbial generosity of his. And this is the Imam alayhi salam. So again, my dear brothers and sisters, let's not confine this great personality to tragedy only. He's beyond tragedy. I'd like to end, and I haven't really referenced this great work at all yet. And I'd like to end by referencing this. This is a treasure, really, truly. And unfortunately we have treasures that we haven't even brushed the dust off. We have them on our shelves, Nahj al-Balagha, Sahif al-Sajjadiyya, and it's a remarkable work that has so many lessons, social, esoteric, and here's someone who when you read what he has to say, you see this intimacy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, his ability to express that which is inexpressible, and it's just remarkable. I urge you, my dear brothers and sisters, just pick up the Sahif al-Sajjadiyya and read one dua once in a while, and you'll feel that connection and that enrichment, and you feel that an ability to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how to speak to Him. That intimacy is just something else. And so I'll end with just a few passages from one of the du'as, and this is du'a. I think this is an appropriate du'a given our theme, which is makarim al-akhlaq. It's the du'a of the noble moral traits and acts pleasing to God. And listen to the words. The translation is obviously not the original, but Dr. William Chittick has done a really good job given conveying the poetry and the meaning. So the Imam alayhi salam says, and he says to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, O God, bless Muhammad and his household, cause my faith to reach the most perfect faith, and make my certainty the most excellent certainty, and take my intention to the best of intentions, and my works to the best of works. And later on in this dua, he says, let good flow from my hands upon the people. This is the external, the lesser jihad. Let good from my hands flow from my hands upon the people, and face it not by making them feel obliged. Give me the highest moral traits and preserve me from vainglory. And later he says, let me live as long as my life is a free gift in obeying thee. But if my life should become a pasture for the shaitan, seize me to thyself before thy hatred overtakes me, or thy wrath against me becomes firm.